Welcome to the story. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and support me. The stars flickered, but not in their usual rhythmic dance. The galaxy had always been a symphony of constellations and celestial wonders, each planet a note in the grand scale of existence. Yet now something was wrong. The stars no longer shone with their familiar light. They shimmered in and out of view as if reality itself was beginning to fray. Bumblebee sped through a deserted canyon on a distant barren moon. The dust kicked up behind him and his tires roared as he pushed the limits of his speed. His mission was simple, reconnaissance, but the unease gnawing at him told him there was more to this than a simple scouting trip. His optics scanned the horizon as he neared the Decepticon stronghold. Bumblebee report, Optimus Prime's voice came through the comlink, steady and commanding as always. Still no sign of activity, but I am getting strange energy reading something set off. Optimus paused. Stay vigilant. If Megatron is behind this, the threat could be far greater than we anticipated. Bumblebee's sex engine revved as he transformed, landing lightly on his feet just outside the stronghold. The structure loomed above him, a hulking mass of twisted metal and dark energy. His scanners buzzed with erratic signals, confirming his suspicions this wasn't just a bait. Something inside was warping the very fabric of reality. He crept forward, using the shadows to his advantage. Inside the base, Megatron stood at the center of a vast chamber, a wicked grin splitting his metallic face. Before him, suspended in a pulsing beam of light, was the galactic shard, a relic of unimaginable power. Around him, the air shimmered and rippled as if space itself was bending under the shard, Seth's influence. Soon, this galaxy will belong to me, Megatron muttered, his voice low and dangerous. Each dimension split apart, isolated and under my control. Soundwave, ever the loyal strategist, stood by his side. The rift's said power is unstable. Lord Megatron, it could tear the galaxy apart beyond even your control. Megatron turned sharply, his red optics burning. I control the rift. No one else. Soon all will kneel before me. Bumblebee ducked behind a pillar, his servos trembling slightly. He had to get this information back to Optimus. The fate of the entire galaxy was at stake, and they were running out of time. He activated his comlink again, whispering, Optimus, you're not going to believe this. Megatron's got his hands on something called the Galactic Shard. It's tearing dimensions apart. He plans to split the galaxy. There was a brief silence on the other end. Then Optimus' same voice, colder and more focused than before, came through. Return to base immediately. We need to prepare. Bumblebee turned to leave, but the sound of approaching footsteps stopped him in his track. Decepticon patrols, his mind raced, calculating his options. He could fight his way out, but the odds were stacked against him. Stealth was his best bet. As the patrol passed, Bumblebee darted from shadow to shadow, his movements quick and precise. Every step brought him closer to the exit, and with each second, the weight of the situation bore down heavier on his shoulders. He needed to warn the others before it was too late. He transformed once again, tires squealing as he sped away from the Decepticon base. Dust and debris flew in his wake as he raced through the desolate landscape. The stars above him flickered again, more violently this time. The rift had already begun to open. Back at the Autobot base, Optimus Prime stood over a holographic map of the galaxy, his optics scanning the ever-growing rift that now spread across star systems. Ratchet, their medic and technical genius, worked furiously at a console, pulling up data as quickly as his hands could move. This is worse than we feared, Ratchet muttered, his voice tinged with frustration. The rift is spreading faster than anticipated. If we don't stop it soon, the galaxy will be torn into countless dimensions, each one isolated from the other. Communication, travel it, will all be impossible. Optimus nodded gravely. We need a plan, and fast. If Megatron succeeds, everything we've fought for will be undone. The base doors slid open, and Bumblebee hurried in, his usually upbeat demeanor darkened by the severity of the situation. I saw it with my own optics, Optimus Bumblebee said, his voice urgent. Megatron's got that shard, and it's sense already messing with reality. We need to move now. Optimus turned to Ratchet, his face as resolute as ever. Can we stop the rift? Ratchet hesitated in theory. Yes, but we do need to get to the heart of the rift and use its own energy against it. That's easier said than done. The rift is unstable, one wrong move, and it could implode, taking half the galaxy with it. Optimus placed a hand on Bumblebee's shoulder. We have a choice. Megatron has forced our hand. We will stop him, no matter the cost. As the Autobots prepared for their mission, the rift continued to widen. Entire planets vanished into its maw, swallowed by the unstable dimensions forming within the galaxy. The stars themselves seemed to flicker in and out of existence, as if they too were being torn apart by the rift-seam pull. Optimus Prime, Bumblebee, and a select team of Autobots boarded their ship, the Ark, and set course for the Rift's epicenter. As they flew through space, the tension was palpable. Each Autobot knew the gravity of the mission. They were no longer just fighting for Cybertron, they were fighting for the entire galaxy. The Ark's engines hummed as they approached the Rift. The space around it was distorted, twisting into strange, unfamiliar patterns. Planets, stars, and debris floated in and out of view as if they existed in multiple dimensions at once. It was a chaotic, disorienting sight. Ratchet worked quickly at his station, running calculations and monitoring the Rift's instability. "They'll have to be precise," he said. "One wrong move, and the Rift could tear us apart." Optimus Prime stood at the helm, his gaze fixed on the swirling chaos ahead. "We'll succeed, Ratchet. We must." As the Ark neared the Rift, the ship shuddered, its systems struggling to handle the gravitational forces pulling at it from all directions. Bumblebee gripped the controls tightly, his optics focused on the task at hand. Suddenly, a warning light flashed on the console. "Incoming Decepticon forces," Bumblebee shouted. Megatron's fleet emerged from the Rift, their ships crackling with dark energy. At the head of the fleet was Megatron himself, his flagship an imposing behemoth of metal and weaponry. "Autobots, Megatron," his voice boomed over the comms filled with malice. "You are too late. The galaxy is already mine. Surrender, and perhaps I will spare your life." Optimus Prime's optics narrowed. "We will never surrender, Megatron. We will stop you." "So be it." Megatron snarled. "Then you will die with the rest of the galaxy." The battle erupted in an instant. The Ark weaved and dodged through the barrage of Decepticon fire, returning shots with precision. Explosions lit up the darkened sky as ships on both sides were torn apart by the violent conflict. Amid the chaos, Bumblebee maneuvered the Ark closer to the Rift's core. "We're almost there," he called out, "just a little further." But Megatron wasn't rabbit to let them reach the Rift so easily. His flagship unleashed a devastating blast of energy aimed directly at the Ark. Optimus Prime gritted his teeth, gripping the controls brace for impact. The blast hit the Ark with tremendous force, sending it spiraling through space. Systems malfunctioned, and alarms blared as the ship struggled to regain control. Smoke filled the bridge as Bumblebee wrestled with the controls, trying to stabilize the ship. The Ark spun wildly, the Rift's gravitational pull intensifying every second. Ratchet worked furiously at his console, rerouting power to the stabilizer. "We were losing altitude fast," Bumblebee shouted over the alarm. Optimus Prime held steady, his massive frame unshaken despite the chaos around him. "Hold it together. Bumblebee, we must reach the core." With a final grunt of effort, Bumblebee corrected the Ark's course, pulling it out of the spin. The ship steadied, but the damage was done. Warning lights flashed across the control panel, indicating several critical systems were on the verge of failure. "Shields are down to 30%, Ratchet warned, his voice tense. "We can take another hit like that." Optimus nodded grimly. "We won, me too. We're almost there." Outside the ship, the Rift's swirling energy grew more intense, the gravitational forces warping the very fabric of space. Dimensional tears appeared like jagged wounds, distorting reality around them. Through the chaos, the glowing core of the Rift loomed ahead, pulsating with raw, uncontrollable power. "Optimus," Bumblebee said, his voice tight with concern. "They regaining on us?" Optimus's optics narrowed. "Ratchet, is the plan ready?" Ratchet glanced at the readouts. "We need to get closer to the core, but it's time dangerous. The energy levels are off the charts. If we tap into it wrong, it'll implode, and we'll go down with it." "We'll make it," Optimus said, his tone resolute. "We have to." The Ark pushed forward, its engines straining under the gravitational pressure. Ahead of them, the core of the Rift twisted and shimmered, a swirling vortex of colors and light, expanding and contracting in unpredictable waves. As they approached, the ship's hull groaned under the immense stress. Just as they neared the core, Megatron's voice cut through the currents once again. "You should have stayed out of this, Prime. Now you will witness the fall of the galaxy, and your Autobots will die with it." Optimus met Megatron's challenge with a calm determination. "You will never control this galaxy, Megatron. You cannot tear it apart for your own greed." "We'll see," Megatron sneered. Before Optimus could respond, Megatron's flagship fired another massive energy blast. The Ark lurched as it was hit, systems shorting out in sparks and smoke. The ship careened toward the core, out of control. "We were going down," Bumblebee shouted, pulling hard on the control. "Brace yourselves," Optimus ordered. The Ark plunged toward the core, but instead of being torn apart by the raw energy, the ship was enveloped in a strange, almost tranquil light. Time seemed to slow as they passed through the vortex, the distorted space around them fading into an eerie stillness. For a moment, everything was silent. Bumblebee blinked, his sensors adjusting. What just happened? Ratchet stared at his console, bewildered. "We were inside the rift." Optimus rose from his seat, his optics scanning the surreal, ethereal landscape outside the viewport. "This is the heart of the dimensional rift." The core wasn't like anything they had expected. Instead of a chaotic storm of energy, it was a calm, almost serene void where dimensions overlapped and coexisted. Stars and planets from different realities flickered in and out of view, existing for a moment, before disappearing again. It was a place where time and space had no meaning. "We need to act fast," Ratchet said, breaking the silence. "If we don't destabilize the rift, from in here it will collapse and take everything with it." Optimus nodded. "Bumblebee, Ratchet, follow my lead. We will need to work together to channel the rift, sense energy, and close it for good." As they began their delicate task of tapping into the rift's and energy, Megatron, the flagship, burst through the vortex, its jagged silhouette casting an ominous shadow across the void. The Decepticon leader wasn't too far behind. Megatron transformed, landing heavily on the surface of the Ark. "You think you can stop me, Prime? This rift belongs to me." Optimus stepped forward, his stance firm. "Your thirst for power will destroy everything. Megatron, I cannot allow that." Megatron sneered, his arm transforming into a cannon. "Then we settle this once and for all." Without another word, Megatron fired. Optimus dodged, rolling to the side as the blast tore through the Ark's hull. The two leaders clashed, metal against metal, their battle echoing through the empty space of the rift. Each strike sent ripples through the unstable dimensions, threatening to collapse the delicate balance of the rift. Bumblebee and Ratchet worked furiously, diverting the rift's energy into a controlled flow. But the longer the battle between Optimus and Megatron raged, the more unstable the core became. Dimensional fissures opened around them, sucking in debris and energy. The galaxy itself was at risk of tearing apart. "We were running out of time," Ratchet yelled over the noise of the collapsing dimension. Optimus knew they couldn't defeat Megatron through sheer force. As much as it pained him, he had to make a choice to stop Megatron. He would need to trap him in the rift. "Megatron," Optimus shouted, stepping back from the fight. "You want this rift? Take it." Before Megatron could react, Optimus grabbed hold of the rift, Synergy directing it toward his foe. The raw power of the rift enveloped Megatron, pulling him toward the unstable core. "No," Megatron roared, struggling against the force. "I want to be beaten like this." But it was too late. The rift consumed him, dragging him into the vortex of colliding dimension. His screams echoed through the void as he was pulled deeper and deeper into the dimensional chaos, until finally he was gone. The rift began to collapse in on itself, but with Bumblebee and Ratchet's careful work, they were able to stabilize it just in time. The vortex shrank, the dimensions merging back into place, restoring the balance of the galaxy. Optimus stood at the edge of the rift, watching as the final traces of Megatron's presence disappeared. His frame slumped slightly, the weight of the battle and the war heavy on his shoulder. "We did it," Bumblebee said, his voice filled with both relief and exhaustion. Optimus turned to face his team. "The galaxy is safe for now." But his voice was somber, for he knew that Megatron's hunger for power could never be truly extinguished. Somewhere in some fractured dimension, his enemies still lingered, waiting for the chance to rise again. As the Ark powered up its engines and began its journey back to Cybertron, the stars outside flickered back to their steady, familiar glow. The rift was sealed, but the scars of the battle would remain. In the stillness of space, far from the remnants of the rift, a faint energy pulsed, a reminder that some battles never truly end.